Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mates Unfiltered, a podcast about friendship, social connections, and building your tribe as an adult. We're going to talk about the real stories and struggles in this entire journey. You know, the ups and the downs, the loneliness, the struggles, the rebuilds, and really what helped at an individual level, or what helped an individual get to this desired state of community or friendship or social, life and activeness. Look, I mean, if this conversation, all that is a conversation with some questions that we've got. If it helps you in any shape or form, we've achieved our goal of, helping someone out and, pretty much help them build their tribe and take one golden nugget, and I'm happy. Today we've got Katie, someone whom I met through one of the entrepreneurial groups that I was hosting back in the time, early last year. And I think when I met Katie, she had this awesome personality of being very open and extroverted person and very positive and upbeat. That's one thing that I always sort of admire, is that how positive you are, I think, in any situation and things like that. But after I think about a year, I think it's been slightly more than that. Katie's one of the closest friends that I've made throughout this journey. I'm going to dearly miss her, but, that's a whole other thing. So, I'm just going to go through the questions. Cool. Okay. Katie, for people who haven't met you, who's Katie outside of this podcast?
Firstly, I can't believe it's only a year. It feels like we've known each other for ages. Okay, I am a communications professional. I'm an Australian, and I'm Gen X. I think those are the three most important things to know about me.
Awesome. Gen X, Australian, and
communications professional.
Love it. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. What's something that always brings you joy, no matter how life's going?
I love entertaining. I love having people over to my house.
Yeah.
As you know. Christmas, New Year's, you know.
Yeah. How many of those, since when you've been doing it? The social gatherings and hang out?
That's a great question. 10, 20 years at least.
Goodness me.
Yeah, multiple countries.
Yeah.
I've been lucky finding my tribe, and then we kind of do things together, if it's Thanksgiving or Halloween or
That's cool.
Love it.
What's one of the favorite thing that you've hosted or memorable?
That's easy. My Academy Awards party.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell me more about
copying my friends, Brian and Simon, copying my friends in Sydney. They have a pretty famous Academy Awards party at their house in Sydney, and I decided to copy them. Okay. And I kind of took the idea overseas when I lived in Shanghai and then in Canberra. So, that's great fun. It's a great night. Yeah.
So did you guys watch movies of the Academy style winners?
We watched from the red carpet all the way to the end.
Man, that's awesome.
Which is hours,
God. When was the last time you did that?
Oh, I haven't done it recently. Wow, I haven't done it since before COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Man.
Sorry, Dhruv, it's too bad.
One thing that I
moving to another country, I'm sorry.
That's fine. I mean, you mentioned a bit about Shanghai and I guess China and other places. So where did you grow up? How do you think, how has your travel really shaped you, based on your travels and wherever you've grown up and moved around by the sounds of it?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I'm what's known as a TCK, a third culture kid.
Never heard of it, but I love it. TCK.
TCK. So I was born in one country, Malaysia, and then I grew up in Australia. I did all my education there, and then when I graduated and I worked, it was all throughout Asia, so three very different places. So I suppose I grew up on Air Force bases, so I became very familiar with moving regularly and being extroverted, making effort to make friendships with new groups of people every 3 years. So yeah, I suppose that really formed who I am. And it naturally led me to a life as an expat, moving by choice to other countries and building a tribe from scratch, I suppose.
Wow.
I've done it many times.
Wow. How many times during when you grow up, like how many countries you moved?
We moved from Malaysia to Australia, and then we moved around a few Air Force bases and then kind of went back to Sydney. So I think of myself as, pretty much growing up in Sydney, doing all my education in Sydney, which was a great experience at the time. Again, as Gen X, it was a very multicultural city. It still is. But yeah, that really impacted how I see people and places and my interest in other cultures and languages and travel. I'm just really comfortable around a diverse group of people. I just find that fascinating.
That's awesome. How much your time in Malaysia or other countries have helped you like to build up those, I don't know, relationships or even connections socially? Like,
Yeah, I went to China in my final semester of university. And then from there, I kind of worked in China. I worked in Singapore. I worked with a lot of different markets and different people. So I suppose I learned to switch back and forth. Yeah, they call it code switching.
Code switching?
Yeah, I learned to do that.
Tell me more about it. What's code switching?
I think it's natural. You'll understand this. When you speak more than one language, it kind of, you're a different person, different cultures and different languages and how you express yourself. And yeah, that just happens naturally when you move to other cities. You kind of adapt and
I mean, the amount of times in my early days I wanted to sort of speak in my own language and then trying to switch, context switching, I guess. Or so I guess that's the code switching, Yeah.
And then spending a lot of time in Asia, I just felt really comfortable in that region.
Yeah.
So it felt different, but it never felt foreign to me.
I mean, I think it's interesting that I would like to know. I think, when did you realize or really picked an interest in learning Mandarin, or took an interest in, I don't know, Chinese as a language or overall culture and things like that? Yeah. If you can share a bit about it.
Another interesting. All these topics we've never talked about before. Yeah, it's good. You saved it for this, obviously. For me, studying Mandarin, it was something I was mildly interested in high school, and then I saw a documentary made by an Australian that I met later in life. I'm happy to say, yes, we're now friends. The guy who actually developed that. He developed a document. He's an Australian who developed a documentary on the history of the People's Liberation Army in China, very strange and random, in the 80s. And I remember watching that documentary with my dad and just thinking how interesting the culture was. And then I was fortunate, again, because I was Gen X at the time in Australia, there was a lot of investment in getting students to study Asian languages and then to go on scholarship into different countries. So I was very fortunate at the time that I became interested, that there was a lot of resources and encouragement.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just became a natural path.
And then you decided that, okay, I'm going to pursue this, going to go all in, or was it more like a, I don't know, like a decision that you were sort of deciding when you went to studies, or...
Yeah, so I completed an Asian studies degree and my major was Mandarin. So it's changed now, but at the time there was a lot of resources and finance dedicated to language tuition. So we were very lucky. We had a lot of contact hours week by week, which you don't get anymore in the university system because it's so expensive. So I had a level of language understanding, I wouldn't call it fluency, by my third year. And then because of the government scholarship, I got to see, okay, I've invested the last 2.5 years on a potential career path. Let's see what I'm like in the culture, how I use the language. And it was very smooth, and I kind of never turned back.
I mean, I would be...
Like, this is it.
God, I think I would be terrified personally, just by, knowing language would give me some form of confidence, but I think going to a brand new country with brand new people and sort of...
You've done it?
But I guess, okay, for me personally, it was a bit different. I wanted to get out and I was open to it. And I knew that I wanted to leave India and try something new. So I guess, was it the same for you? that you want to
and it's why it's
explore?
very easy to find friends like you internationally when I live in different cities, because there's always a group of people like us.
Yeah, oh, totally. Who are, I guess, whom you can meet and sort of relate that they came to this country, wherever you are, from UK or US to China or Canada or, wherever. And I guess, those stories, right, that really you can sort of share and talk about stuff.
And each city, I've been really fortunate. If I talk about China, if I talk about New Zealand, I always have local friends and then I have expat friends. So I have friends from like a broad range of nationalities and backgrounds, right?
Yeah. And man.
Like us.
Yeah.
An Australian and an Indian in Wellington, right? This is how it is. This is the community that you build. Like,
I mean, the thing is, you never know whom you're going to meet, and I think you got to be open, right? Like whenever you're meeting someone, and like I guess, and then seeing where that goes, right?
Yeah.
Now, awesome. So, getting a bit, slightly deep. And as we've called Mates Unfiltered,
right.
Being vulnerable and open and sharing stories is part of it. What's something you used to be insecure about, but now you fully own? Something that you weren't comfortable in, you sort of over the years or even now fully own?
Ironic question. This. As a communications professional, I prep people to do video and personal stories and interviews, and I like being on the other side, but I'm pushing myself out. I'm doing more podcasts, I'm doing more personal interviews. It's doesn't come natural to me, but I've been fortunate because it's tend to been, including today, with people I know really well, so I'm quite comfortable.
Oh, that's so cool. What's your motivation to, let's say, get on the podcast and interviews?
I think your mission is really important. I think we have a lot of shared interests, and one of them is building community. And I think a lot of people, particularly post-COVID, are seeking that. And there are lots of different ways to develop that. But what you're doing is very much in person and building local community, again, with a mix of where we are, Kiwis, and then a whole group of other people from other countries and cultures. And I'm very passionate about that. So it's a
totally.
shared interest, and I love that you're trying to get the word out and build that.
I mean, I think that's another common, I guess, thing that we have here is our... I guess we are in a bit of a similar space around entrepreneurship, startups, and I think I have an interest in branding and a bit of a communication and things like that. And Katie's got about 30 to 40 years of experience in that field.
30, not 40.
Okay, there we go. Bam. X number of years of experience, more than us, over here along the lines. But I think I'm always like a curious person, and I think that one thing as well is quite aligned. And also, I think our common struggles and things that we have gone through while being here in Wellington, I think, that has, I guess, bonded us a little bit. But then, you've been part of the journey and I've met you, right? And then, I guess...
shared wins, shared losses,
in a nutshell, without going too much in depth. But, No, that's pretty much it. But... but I think there's so much in common and alignment as well. So I think around how we see life, how we operate, and even I remember this moment even folding the towels in a way, the exact way you would do it, and I would do it as well at the Somes Island trip. I was like, man, okay. Another level unlocked.
Our day on our personal island, thanks to you. That was a great trip.
Oh,
It was like 15 people or something. It was wonderful.
It was. I mean, I was surprised that people turned up for that many people, actually, which was quite nice. And I think it was a fantastic day out. Yeah. Now, awesome. Coming back to it. So, okay. Have you always been someone who connected easily with others, or something, or is that something that you had to work at, or
I'm naturally an extrovert, and I come from a family of extroverted women, so it's kind of sink or swim in my family.
Yeah.
I think most of us develop these skills, and I don't think it's a coincidence that many of us ended up living overseas and building new communities. So I think it's quite natural to me.
Yeah, that you're sort of born extrovert. And do you think it gave you a bit of an advantage whenever you moved to new countries, that you could easily sort of kickstart and, try to talk to people, get into it and build these connections? Or?
I suppose so, because everybody, if they're in a new space and they want to build a new network or even just find one new friend, you do have to push yourself to try new things, to visit new organizations, events, that kind of stuff. And I suppose that comes more naturally to extroverts because they love being around people consistently. Generally, they don't have good days and bad days.
Okay.
So I suppose that's an advantage, but everyone has to, overcome that challenge of like, am I really going to head out the door today and like walk into that room or that event by myself? I mean, everyone faces that.
Yeah. Do you find, like as an extrovert, right, you instantly connect with another extrovert, or you're open to sort of connecting with other introverts, or you try to really, work it out? Or what are some of the things that you look for in connections?
One of the things that's really surprised me in moving to New Zealand is I've met a lot of people at networking events, including you.
Yes.
And I have thought they were extroverts. And 6 to 12 months into our friendship, they confide, actually, I'm a real introvert, but I'm pushing myself out there. So I found that fascinating. Moving to this country in particular, a lot of people, a lot of Kiwis and a lot of people from other cultures that are like, right, here I am, new city, I've got to push myself into this. And they do a great job. I just think they're really sociable and extroverted. I mean, my gosh, the first time you revealed to me, I've really got to actively address this and push myself out there. I'm not naturally extroverted. It totally threw me.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned that in the first ever video that I did. It was because I reached a rock bottom where I didn't want it to be at that level. And I was like, okay, what are the things that I had to achieve? And I think I'm kind of an ambitious person, so that I'm like, cool. If it takes hosting, you got to do hosting, no matter how terrifying it is, or try to know that you know things and figure it out.
Because you seem so comfortable in the space, and that you just went straight to hosting. I was like, wow, I just made all these assumptions about you.
Okay, what are the steps then someone would have taken before hosting? Like, from your perspective?
I don't know, go at your own pace, I suppose.
What does that include?
Well, not necessarily push yourself to, go out every night, that kind of thing. I think personally a good starting space is knowing yourself and your interests. So start slowly. If you like movies, join a film club. If you like tennis, join a local tennis club. See what those people are like. Because having that shared interest, that shared experience, and even if you see the same people every week, every 2 weeks, you slowly build rapport, you build a relationship, you share more with each other. Can build over time.
I won't say I haven't done that, so it is definitely part of the journey, and even the reason why Handmates exist is that those didn't work for me, unfortunately. It's a massive part of my journey, so I'm not going to too much deep into it, but I totally agree. I think I think what you built with that one group, I mean, I met you when you were hosting another group entirely. It was an entrepreneurs group. Yeah, exactly. And we bonded on many things. Initially, entrepreneurship, yes. And working in the entrepreneur community. But then it morphed into, well, what else are you interested in? And I mentioned games. And before I knew it, you had set up a game and were hosting a games night. And then that morphed into a group of people that initially met through games, but they also liked jazz and they liked going outdoor trekking and they liked doing karaoke. I mean, my gosh, so many things that we've done together as a group. And yet you've managed to establish a community of like-minded people that have become friends over time that are still very open-minded to new people turning up. It doesn't feel cliquey or closed. It's very open, and that's very much the tone you've set as the host. I mean, that's done intentionally, and I use intent word quite a lot, and that's what I'm trying to empower as well. So, it's very funny you mentioned that because when we met at the Entrepreneur's Drink, I think I was just doing brunches. I think it was an early third month when I started Hey Mates. And I think, I was looking for ideas, like what people would be interested in. And I think right off the bat, I still remember that night vividly where you, mentioned that, why not games night or why not a couple of things? And I'm like, cool. My biggest thing was, where do I find these people? And I said, will you join if I start hosting? And she's like, yeah, sure, I'll come. So, I mean, it's just figuring it out. And
and cut to a month or two. Well, cut into a few months ago, we all spent Christmas together at my house. A number of us spent New Year's together. And then a few weeks ago, you just arranged for 15 of us to go to an island together for the day. I mean, it just kind of snowballed naturally.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. No, but to go back to the questions, right? Like how you, outside of Hey Mates and things, right? Let's say outside of New Zealand as well. Have you typically have managed to establish tight crew or your social circle in each country or places you've been to, or has it shifted across different phases of life?
Takes time. I feel quite fortunate. A couple of the cities that I've lived in, I've been part of social groups or networking groups. I don't know if networking is the right. Yeah, probably networking groups. And you noticed a lot of the same people turn up and they're also interested in forming a community or a friendship or getting to know the city better. And over time, that for me at least has morphed into often a core group of anywhere between 8 to 10 people. And we now all live in other countries. So it becomes WhatsApp groups, or it becomes, half of us are going to be in, New York or California or whatever in May. So people make an effort if they're traveling or that kind of thing. I mean, it's not as affordable as it used to be. So it comes down to social media and apps. But it's interesting how once you've formed those bonds in person, if you maintain it, when you've got that intimacy and that friendship and all those shared experiences, it becomes a very strong connection. And it to be honest, it doesn't matter if you never get to see each other in person again. It just, there are so many, thank goodness, there are so many different ways of communicating these days.
Yeah, no, I agree. How long does that typically take for you, or has taken for you to establish your core group in different countries?
That's an interesting question. Couple of months.
Oh, wow, that's quick.
It's been interesting to observe what you've built here. What you've built here is very natural to what I have seen develop with my own friendships and groups and tribes in other cities and other cultures. So it didn't surprise me once you built that games night.
Yeah,
and about 3 or 4 months after that, we were doing other things together.
Yeah.
We were like, who wants to... Okay, well, we've done games night and we'd normally say goodbye and be polite, but now we're slowly like, who wants to go for a drink, or who wants to go to the beach tomorrow? Like, it just morphs into that. And in my experience, it doesn't take that long. It can take 8 weeks, 3 months. It doesn't take that long.
What are the key factors? What are the key factors that, that contribute to building that?
I think one of the things that happens, and I've noticed it with the group that you've built here, is there's a core group of regulars that keep coming back. So, for example, games night is every fortnight on a Friday. Okay, so that's how it starts. And between those 2 weeks, some of us want to see each other. So some little things happen around the periphery, and then we all realize, oh, yeah, I went to that jazz festival too. Oh, we're all interested in jazz. Like, it just slowly morphs into, we keep going to games night, but the shared experiences expand, and it's quite organic. It's just very natural.
I think often,
Which surprised me too, even from the games group. I was like, oh, so many things we have in common. I mean, my God, photography is a great example. Anytime anyone travels, the group... the group chat gets flooded with travel photos. And then we even did that trip as a group to, when I was ticking off my bucket list of all the things I wanted to see in Wellington before I leave. One of them was Zealandia, and we had a group of 15 to 20 people. And 4 of them, I didn't know until that day, 4 of them had these incredible cameras. They were serious wildlife photographers. I was like, another shared thing that we have in this group.
That's awesome. I mean,
natural.
Yeah, I think once it starts snowballing, or I guess once people click with each other and like their company, I guess it's natural, right? Things start evolving. But let's say a step before that, getting to that level, what are the key attributes that really result into that desire of, hey, that was cool to meet you, or for you in other countries, not specifically in New Zealand, what are the key attributes you find that worked? Is that personality, or is that shared, I don't know, you are into this industry and I've been into this industry. Did that help, or is that more like a personality and sort of vibe check that you sort of look for? What are the key things before you get to that level? Because the reason why I ask is that I found that often people are not creating the right spaces, and as the spaces are not created correctly, or it's not run with intent, I guess that's the main barrier where that's from my personal observation, and even that's why I started it. But again, from your journey, what made you click with other people in overseas, or whenever you were in China, let's say, what made you connect with people?
I think it's seeing each other consistently. Yeah, not this one-off thing and maybe we'll see each other in a few weeks. It's a consistent shared experience, whether it's going on a walk every Sunday. It's that opportunity to keep having regular conversations, and then it gets quite personal. How was your week, and what do you do? What is your job? You filter down from the very superficial getting to know you, or we're just focused on games, or we're just focused on tennis. It naturally morphs into, when you see each other regularly, it becomes more intimate is the right word, familiar, comfortable. That naturally develops over time. What I found was missing in other groups in New Zealand until I met you was an active, engaged host that encourages people to come back, that makes sure the people that are new, that don't know everybody else, are introduced, know everyone's names, feel comfortable. That's often a missing factor, I felt personally. A lot of the on-site organizations are almost event management. They set up the site, the space, the activity, go for it. Or there's the small talk, which is all about fast-paced kind of networking, bang, 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 bang. But then there's no follow-up. It's back to the participants again to keep it going. And I find the way you set up your group and the way you've engineered the purpose and the role of the host is quite different, and it has a huge impact on the group. It encourages that consistent exposure, and then over time it organically moves into greater familiarity and friendships. It moves from that, and we've talked about this before, that progression. I mean, you can remind me of it. It starts at acquaintances and that kind of...
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it goes to the higher level of connection and intimacy, right? Pretty much. Yeah, acquaintance, then you become social friend, right? You see, as you described, consistently you see each other at different things, but without that consistency, personally, I've found that it's hard to get to that level of knowing someone, because you haven't seen that person long enough. Because I find personally, if it's one-off, then it's just one-off, and you just don't know.
It's interesting how it happens too. So for example, if you were regularly playing tennis together, you become really familiar with each other. You kind of laugh at so-and-so as a shit backhand, right? And then games night, it's well, so-and-so is really good at the drawing games. Why is so-and-so good at the drawing games? Oh, well, so-and-so works for Weta Workshop, that kind of thing. Or as a professional graphic designer, and we, the conversations
totally that comes out of it, right?
Than just the game kind of.
Yeah. No, I agree. So how does connection work, or these, let's say over here in your time span, you met me, hey mates, and then it's like, bam, you managed to, become part of this embedded social community and everyone loves you, which is so cool. And naturally, like out of my intention and efforts, I've managed to do this. But if you had to compare other countries outside of New Zealand, what's the typical journey like for you? Like how it's different?
I think the onus is more on the participants.
Oh, yeah?
I've certainly noticed that even in other groups here in New Zealand, if the small talk is actually I don't mean to diss them, but it's a great example of this. They did a great job of getting together a group of people that were actually quite compatible with each other. But then they left it to the group and the group aren't always comfortable or have trust or a bit hesitant. Yeah. That's a missing factor with a lot of the things that I've attended in other countries and other organisations. They don't, putting the onus, and again, this is interesting, this gets back to introverts and extroverts. Sure. If you're an introvert, you're not going to, it's not natural to who you are. And it's so the onus is on the extroverts, and then the extroverts often resent that, and then the group falls apart. But it's quite different when there's a host encouraging people to come together on a regular basis, and that exposure develops familiarity, and it just naturally becomes, a community, a tribe.
I mean, I totally agree with you. That part of the reason that I created this was that creating that safe space. And I think that's the exact word I would personally use when I had to describe that problem. As an introvert, that's exactly the channel, or let's say place that I've found myself, that it's often hard. And when you try to go to an existing group or place that, either that they've got their own group and then sort of, it's often left to you that you kind of try and make an effort, try to talk to people, and then often they will talk to you for a couple of seconds or minutes, and then they go back and default to their other sort of friends that they've made, and which is all well and good. But then,
exactly.
I'm here to connect as well. But that exactly. First time experience sort of goes down. But
the other thing about the introverts, extroverts is introverts like to dip in to an activity and then maybe take a break, and that's okay. And I think what you've created is, rather than people that attend, they're like, that was great, I'm not in the mood next Friday, and then they just peter out. That doesn't happen with what you've built. And because there's a level of trust and familiarity that we do build, I think, rather quickly, 2 to 3 months, the introverts will often say in the group chat, guys, I'm exhausted tonight. I cannot handle being around 15 people. And we're like, that's cool. Come next time or not. Or just give us an update, like message us, whatever. You don't have to come out. That's fine. Take your time. We'll see you when you're back in the mood for people, kind of thing. And that is also something that I think you get from a hosted group, a regular thing. People feel comfortable to start talking about that stuff openly. And it doesn't hurt that you are an introvert that openly says to everyone in the group, hey, I'm an introvert and I'm pushing myself out there. I think that gives the introverts, a comfort level of trust that they can say, I'm just not in the mood for coming to games night or tennis or badminton or whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm disappearing forever. Like that kind of honest chat, which is really helpful to an extrovert, because extroverts get really personal, like, why aren't they coming?
Yeah. Is that personal or what is it?
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I won't and haven't shared with anyone that I'm introvert unless I've known them that well. They would naturally, as I'm doing this, running things around and sort of trying to do things, they're like, oh, cool. I mean, you got your shit figured out and you're doing too many things. So who's an introvert? I mean, introvert sits in a corner and reads their book or something, like, I don't know, just they are in their sort of zone, which is,
which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, which is totally fine. But I guess this ambitious side of me has really pushed me from an introvert level to get to an ambivert, and now sort of ambivert / extrovert a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, and that you understand those distinctions and you're sensitive to that in other
Correct,
people. Yeah.
I think it's being considerate as well, and being open to receiving that it's okay, that if they do not want to come, like not having any expectations on anyone.
Yeah.
If they want to come back, sure, you come back. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I think there's a space for you, a space where you'll always be welcomed. You'll always have a great experience, and you'll be, like, I don't know, you'll have fun.
That. When someone disappears and they come back, we just pick up where we left off.
Totally.
Like, why weren't you here for 3 months? I wouldn't care.
No. But I think it starts with creating that good culture and that positive environment, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I had to ask you, I'm just going to go back to that question again.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to rebuild your social network or social life from scratch, not in New Zealand, anywhere outside of New Zealand, how would you do that? Like, if you had to rebuild it from scratch, like, what would you do?
I'd start with my interests.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some examples for you. Well, I'll be honest with you. I am about to move countries. Honest with you. He already knows. So for me, unfortunately, Hey Mates is not yet in Australia.
Not yet, sadly, but
in New Zealand, I discovered Meetup, and so I'm really curious to see how Meetup is in another country. So I will give that a shot.
Totally.
I will also give other organisations that I'm really familiar with a shot, like Internations.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Again, because it's a specific group of people that are well-travelled and expats and have a lot of shared life experience and perspective. What else would I do? I don't know. For me, Meetup's a good starting point. In any city that doesn't have Hey Mates.
That's totally fine.
And I would be looking at all the groups that I looked at here.
Yeah.
Which is, outdoor walking,
Gotcha.
Games groups, all that kind of stuff.
So, like, for you,
shared interest again.
Yeah, totally goes back to the interests and things, trying to figure it out, trying to join
I don't care about
groups.
people's age, their gender, their sexuality. I don't care about ethnicity. I don't care about any of that
awesome.
stuff, because relationships, in my experience, have been built on shared life experience or perspective or shared activities, and it just happens in those kind of activity groups. And yeah,
and I guess feeling comfortable in those, and then sort of exploring and see where it takes you. But would you put yourself out there, like, consistently, or what are your...
I do personally, but I'm an extrovert.
No, totally.
And I'm an extrovert that runs their own business. I'm always networking. I'm always switched on.
I mean,
looking for a client.
Networking mode on. Hey, what do you do? And
which makes me sound really painful.
no, you're great to be around. Come on. I mean, we don't stop talking. I mean, I think we spend days, like, honestly, days together chatting about stuff, and like, I mean, I think you're cool to hang out with. And so do many other people.
We meet up for coffee or a drink, and it's like 3 hours later.
Or even more. Like, I specifically remember we catch up for a coffee, have a bit of a chat, the conversation don't stop. Then we're like, hey, shall we get out of here? Yeah, we do. We start wandering off, and then we still talk. Like, I have to go, but no, we still talk. We just, I don't know. Yeah, I think that connection, right?
Yeah, and I remember when games night morphed into that.
Yeah?
People didn't leave politely on time. People kind of like mill around
a
bit, and they would see, is anyone going out? Is anyone doing anything?
Totally.
Like, we really enjoy the night. We don't want to break up the
But that's the connection that I think once that really establishes within the existing group of people, and then if new people can sense that, it's okay to open up. It's okay to share, right? Like then they connect, because currently at this date and time, games night is still going on, but then at the venue's like, I'm going to shut at 10, but I've packed it up. I'm just ready to go. People are just chatting. They don't want to go. I have to say like 3 to 4 times, now we got to go. And then I'm like, you know what, guys, out.
Our booking is over.
Oh my God, yeah. But I think that's so cool. I mean, that's exactly what I...
Which is the opposite of what we're talking about. These events-based, it's the opposite. It's not about the venue and it just becomes something else.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something very specific, right? Can you share or think of a time when overseas, not New Zealand, if you've been to an event and it has let you down? or you didn't like it? And what were the factors that made you not like or enjoy it? That was like, oh, I didn't enjoy it because of X, Y, Z. Like, what are the things?
I'll speak generally. I think one of the hardest things is when you're new in a city and you turn up to a networking event and it's a group of people that know each other and you've walked into the room by yourself, you don't know anyone, and it's really hard work trying to make a connection with people. So being in a room of people open to newbies, I think that's probably a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a space which isn't open to newbies, or they are sort of closed off to the existing sort of community.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time they don't even realize that they're doing it.
Oh, really?
They maybe say some standard getting to know you questions. But
totally.
Yeah. It just doesn't go anywhere.
So if you don't...
So you kind of leave the event thinking, don't want to go back there, right? It's just this particular atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, that you didn't sort of enjoy, and then do you continue on that path of finding a better event? Or like, what's the typical journey like? Or do you give them feedback? Like, hey, well, I don't know. Like,
sometimes I would give them a second chance. Sometimes I would maybe mention it to my existing group. I've tried this and it didn't work, and they will say, oh, I had the same experience, but here's something else that was a really good experience for me. So kind of talking and just sharing insights in your immediate network. Yeah,
that happens. But I guess you have this initial sort of time where you try to do that. So I guess you try and figure out a lot of things when you go to a new country, as you just said, right?
Yeah.
Meetups or Internation or whatever the other platforms and avenues are, you really put yourself out there, right? Yeah. What are the like key, takeaways or lessons or learnings that you sort of learned from those sort of not so great experiences that you would prefer that I'll try to not do that. Like, for example, that classic example of a space where people were in their own groups, right? So like either when you hosted something or when you how do I put this, when you we're going somewhere, like, what helped? Like, what did you do and you didn't do, like, from those lessons? It's quite a long question, sorry.
I suppose when you are in one of those groups that you try not to be that person, you try to be welcoming to these people, to newbies, these people, to newbies, because you've been a newbie and you remember what it's like when, people aren't open and welcoming. I mean, what's the point of being in these groups if you're there to make friendships if you're not open to people? And having a few awkward chats, I think that's the other thing. I think a lot of people turn up and they're like, oh, it's so awkward. Yeah, because you don't know each other. It's a room full of strangers. They won't be strangers if you keep going back. You got to give people a chance.
No, I totally get it. And then owning up to it, right? In a way that, as you said, it's going to be awkward for the first time. And then you're going to have these sort of pauses and moments, and then but it's not about that first meeting. It's about
I think particularly because at a lot of those networking events, the extroverts find each other and have a great conversation, and that can be quite excluding to other people as well. You've got to remember to kind of stand back and give people space to
definitely give them space and then talk. I guess that's one thing that I've noticed as well, is that, as you said, extroverts find themselves and introverts sort of try to connect with introverts, or people who are sort of talking at a slow pace, or they are talking about a bit more intimate topics and conversations, right? Rather than, that's what I found, that if someone just talks about reality shows or XYZ, I'm like, well, I'm not interested in reality TV. Right? I think it goes back to shared experiences.
A good example.
And if I find doing the talks, it's like, oh, you're into this, then I guess,
Yeah. You're like, oh, I can relate to this person.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm interested in that. And then it becomes a conversation.
Yeah. And then slowly those awkward moments become into sort of gentler.
Which I think is another thing that sets you apart, because, again, with your approach as an active host, you have those icebreakers, which I think are fantastic.
Yeah.
Those are brilliant.
I mean, in a way, it's not fair to say this, but those things are there to create a safe space, make sure that you feel welcomed. Again, addressing all those points and issues, right?
Yeah.
Because I've gone through those, and I've been to so many different activities and events where I didn't find those things. So I've experienced the problem, hence I've created a solution that...
Yeah, just a little prompt, a little card, like, okay, break off into 3 groups, or, groups of 3 or whatever it is. I can't remember. I haven't attended one for a while. But yeah, and then like a standard question, and they're fascinating questions and they draw everyone out. And my gosh, it really gets a lot of the introverted, shyer people really sharing with each other. Yeah, random topics. I find the icebreaker is a really interesting approach. Very different to other things I've attended.
Yeah. Do you find asking meaningful question plays a massive role? I know the answer would be yes, but how someone goes about asking these, I don't know, interesting questions.
Yeah, you find yourselves in these really interesting conversations, and it's funny, I've noticed when you do the icebreakers, you're like, okay, we're going to wrap it up, we're going to move into whatever we're doing today, which is, everyone's got to know each other, we've done an icebreaker, you've done your introduction, now we're going to play some games, and there'll be groups of us that are like, can we just keep talking a little bit more about these icebreakers? They're really interesting topics.
I guess I sparked the conversations too well.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Okay, to come back, how many countries you've traveled to once again, or been to so far?
Or lived in? It's different distinctions.
Yeah, let's call it lived in. Let's say you spend minimum a year.
I think it's about 6.
Yeah.
So I was an exchange student. Oh, do you want me to list them all? It's quite boring. About 6.
Share them. I would love to hear. I know China for sure, but what are the other countries?
Yeah, I was an exchange student in Seattle, which is beautiful, fantastic. Loved it. Yes, lots of rain. And then I lived in China for quite a long time, in Beijing and Shanghai. Then I lived in Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. I don't know, what's that, 5 or 6? Something like that.
And that's awesome.
Not that many. A lot of people lived in way more.
Well, I'm looking up to you, and I'm like, shit, 5 to 6 countries. I've only been to one. That is New Zealand.
You come from a huge country.
Well, it's about places you've been to. So how many friend circles you managed to establish in those countries?
I would say over time there are 5 main groups, and I can honestly say I'm still in touch with people from each of those groups.
Wow.
So Singapore, Beijing, Shanghai, one of the cities I lived in Australia, and then Wellington for sure. Wow, Wellington for sure. Yeah,
that's awesome. And does distant relationships or distant really matters in between, like friendships and things? How do you maintain it?
Interesting question. Yeah, it can be tricky when you're mixing with a lot of people who are expats who work in careers where they're constantly moving countries. You have that sweet moment when you're all in the one country together, when you meet each other. We're in it right now, right? And some of us move on, so I'm about to leave.
It's very sad, but yeah.
Yeah, so you make the choice to stay in touch or to fall out of touch. And I think a lot of those people, because their lifestyles are constantly traveling and they know how precious those relationships are. And it's much easier now with technology and apps and phones.
Just stay connected.
To stay in touch.
Yeah.
Over multiple time zones and stuff. Thank goodness it's a lot easier.
Like how do you manage it though? Do you intentionally send messages to these people whom you want to stay in touch, or do they send you a message? Like how does that has worked over the time?
Well, as you know, the group often morphs into an online chat group on what other platform?
Messenger, WhatsApp.
Exactly. And then that breaks out into little subgroups or individual messaging, and there you go. So I have one friend, for example, who is from the US, who's based in New York. We met each other when we were both living and working in Shanghai. Then we both moved to Singapore. So we had a lot of shared life experiences.
That's awesome.
Then she went back to the US, I went back to Australia. But I would say that we are in touch every day.
Wow.
We're like best buddies. Yeah.
What do you guys talk about?
Makes no difference what country or time zone we're in. She's just got back from Paris and she's been texting me daily, sending me videos and photos and stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, the distance, it is difficult, but it's less of a challenge in this era, I think. Yeah.
To stay connected.
And I think, as I said earlier, you've got that bond of a friendship developed in real life, in person, and that just carries through, and you do what you need to do to stay in touch. And yeah, it's interesting. The relationship can deepen even more over time. That's definitely happened with the two of us. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we were close. We were peripheral friends in the same group in Shanghai, and then in Singapore we got really close because we'd had this shared experience before. And then, yeah, she went back home, and I'm like, every 12 months I try and visit her and her family.
Oh God, that's so cool.
Yeah, which, you know, COVID interrupted and international travel is more expensive and difficult, but we've always got the apps.
That's awesome. I mean, even hearing that you guys send photos and things every day, that tells me the bond that you have.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
It surprised me. I'm like, we're so close.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that level of bond I have is with my mom. Like, I'm in touch with her, we just talk, and sometimes we know that we are busy. But again,
yeah,
you know,
you make time for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And distance really doesn't matter. Like,
No.
it's just that knowing that they are there. And I think being understanding of each other's schedule and things as well.
Yeah.
That, you know, if they haven't replied in a day or two or whatever that is, it's just like, you know, that they're busy.
True. And you're sharing your life on a daily basis with them.
Totally.
It doesn't matter that you're not doing this, right?
I know. Yeah.
I've heard you on the phone with your mum.
Yeah. So the secrets? No. I mean, at this stage, I'm super busy. So, you know, it's kind of hard. But I think even from friend perspective, right? It's just that knowing that you're okay.
Yeah.
Is the key. And
checking
of course,
in. Just checking in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I find that it doesn't have to be massive long messages. Like, it can be as small as a photo, or as say hi, or just thought to message, or something funny that came up and you share it, right?
Yeah. I'll often say, I'm just going to send you a big long email. Like, I can't. I'm just going to send you a big long letter.
Oh.
Depends.
I would love to receive one of those.
There are options.
Have you got a newsletter? Actually, that's one thing that I want to know right now.
No.
Okay, so it's just one-on-one emails. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you do start a newsletter, I'll be
top of the list, Dhruv.
For you. I mean, you know, Katie's friends newsletter, and I'll read. I mean, I do check my emails.
No, man, it's all the groups. It's all the social media groups. It's the group chat, man. Come on.
I'm in a situation where it's now 50 and not 50, but quite a lot, and the messages just don't stop. So I think,
wow.
So actually,
oh man, some of the groups you've built are enormous.
But I think it's the engagement that's quite active. I guess.
Oh, I know from a lot of those groups, I do one-on-one messaging with at least 5 or 6 people from those groups. Like, awesome. I'll do group chat, but then there's a lot of like update. One-on-one.
That's so cool. I mean, that connection really happens on one-on-one.
Yeah.
I like to say it starts with becoming acquaintances, then goes to social/activity friends. Then it goes one level up where you've spent enough time together, doing things and stuff like that together. Then you're like, oh, cool. I like the company. I know her enough, or him enough, them enough, right? You want to do something outside of it. Then you move up to those one-on-one chats to say, well, do you want to catch up for a coffee or ice cream or XYZ? And I define that as a close friend. And then this close friendship lasts long and very long time till, you know, however that compatibility, that connection builds over time. And really, that time really defines if you're stayed in touch, let's say over a year or 2 years or even more than that, via whatever it means, whether in person or distant. If you've been in touch, I guess, and very close for about 1 or 2 years, or even let's say more than 6 months now, because nowadays, you know, that's the minimum criteria. I would put in 2 years, right? But then they become lifelong friends.
Yes.
Because it is long enough. And life is long anyway. Yeah. Sounds
It's
like
been interesting to see from the group that you've built, there's all the one-on-ones. And then what I've noticed is you'll be in a one-on-one and you'll throw in someone's name and I'm like, oh, are they interested in that too? And so we kind of, with them, the three of us go out and do something. And then that again grows into, oh, but so-and-so is also, I'm like, oh, that. Like you're constantly discovering groups within the group. It's just natural.
I guess human beings, I like to say this, we are not just interested in one thing. We've got about 3 to 4 or minimum 5 different interests and things we've got in common, or not in common, I should say, that we love. And then 9 out of 10 times things will overlap.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I didn't know that about that person. Well, why? Well, you haven't talked with them much, but it's okay too. Let's do this now. And I think in those side quests and things that you really do outside of those social events that you hang out and come together, that's where I personally found those connections really build up, is that after the games or after that activity and events, hey, do you want to get a drink? Or whatever that is. Like, do you want to do something outside of this? And then I guess that mutual reciprocity and openness of, sure. Like that attitude or even that openness to say, yeah, cool, I would love to hang out like that, that really builds the connection. Yeah.
It does, because you've managed to establish a relaxed atmosphere and it does continue into the evening. Like, okay, the venue shut down, this activity's finished.
Yeah.
But we're not ready to go home. Like, we're enjoying what's going on.
Totally.
Let's take it somewhere else.
So have you noticed the exact similar thing back in other countries as well, or?
To think about that.
And to tie into another question, were there any key realizations or moments of clarity that changed your approach on friendships?
Oof.
It's kind of like a blend of 2 questions in one. I can repeat that if you like.
I don't know if it's changed.
It's something that you would do, I guess. Yeah. Not necessarily changed.
I don't know. You need to ask me that in a different way.
Totally. Okay. Let's do this again. I would ask, have you noticed this exact same thing of groups, like outside of that particular thing that you got together? Would you just go out in other countries as well? Is that how you've seen it work? Or how,
It's, from what I've seen, it often segues into, this was fun, we enjoyed this activity. Okay, we know that we're all going to be at this activity another week or 2. And the chemistry is still there, and that's great. But we're ready to kind of move this into maybe a brunch, or we've all talked about how much we love bushwalking. Why don't we do a bushwalk on Saturday morning? And you'll think that's just those 4 or 5 or 6 people, and then the word gets out, and we're like, oh, I didn't realize Dhruv liked bushwalking, and it just becomes a bigger group. And so again, you establish all that stuff you were just talking about, those shared experiences, that relaxed atmosphere in a different venue, and that is partly how relationships are built, right? It's not that one thing. It becomes sharing your life more broadly, more interests, more activities, that kind of stuff.
So is that the same in other countries as well?
Yeah, I have found that in other countries. Yeah.
Any particular instance?
And then for me, that morphs into, because, I love entertaining. I'm like, okay, so now we've all known each other for almost a year, and there are heaps of Christmas orphans. So who wants to come to my house for a baked dinner for 8 people on Christmas Day? Like, it morphs into all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've seen it naturally happen with someone casually mentions, or someone finds out it's someone's birthday, and we all rally around and like, great, let's do something for this person's birthday. And that's quite intimate, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's something you do with really close friends.
Yeah.
And so that naturally becomes a friendship group, because you're like, oh, these people really want to celebrate my birthday. Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Like, I want to hang out and do things. Yeah. Like, just catch up. Any, like, I guess, lessons or things that you've learned throughout this friendship journey, like anything that you've learned Or what's something that you've learned about keeping friendships alive over time? I think we've touched on this, but yeah.
Just to not be afraid to just share the small stuff, like that daily communication is a particular kind of friendship. But yeah, I think people over time think, oh, unless I have big news, like so-and-so doesn't want to hear from me. And I'm like, no, just share your daily trials, tribulations, joys, wins.
Yeah.
Right? It's that kind of shared experience and taking someone into your confidence, and that naturally builds trust over time, I think. Yeah, I think sometimes people can think I need to be my best self, and I'm like, no, friendship, you can just kind of let it hang out a little bit.
Yeah.
And if it misses the mark, then you're like, okay, that's not that level. I mean, you just listed the levels of friends. I'm like, okay, so that person's in this group. That's fine. I wouldn't have known otherwise, right?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, a lot of us talk about TMI, maybe TMA, but too much information, but
Yeah, I mean,
you kind of test the waters with each other.
Oh, totally. I mean, what I've noticed is that you share a little bit more, they share a little bit more.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
It's always
take each other into confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, it always starts with sharing a bit about yourself at an individual level. And I think whenever you do that, I found that the other person feels like it's okay to share.
Yeah.
And then they share. Then you share. And they share. And I think...
Yeah, reciprocal.
But I think it's getting to that level, right?
Yeah, over time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that we touched based on. Okay, this is quite an interesting one, right? What's something you wish more people knew about staying close long term?
I guess that you've got to commit to it. You know, you've got to make an effort.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of lose that intimacy and that trust when there are like big gaps of silence over time. You know, you've got those friends or family members that you only contact on their birthday, which is kind and heartwarming, but you often get off that call and you think, why don't I talk to that person more often? Like, that was really fun catching up.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to make an effort. One of my group of friends, when we all ended up living in different countries, we got into a semi-regular habit of doing a group Zoom call, and it was so much fun. I mean, it was all different time zones, but we all knew each other so well and we were so comfortable with each other. And then over time, you know, someone's gotten married, someone's had a dog, someone's had kids, and so, you know, the group chat and the screen gets bigger and more people and the conversation gets more complex, which is it's great fun. It's kind of like, I don't know, having a picnic online, you know, like you have to make an effort to do this, you know, like.
That's awesome. So the key takeaway is to stay in touch.
Yes.
More regularly.
Make an effort to stay
in touch. Yeah. It sounded like more as a group more than individual. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I've experienced it in both, but again, that's something you learn. You learn when you travel a lot, you learn, oh, this was an in real life friendship and there's not going to be an effort made to continue. Like you learn, again, back to those 4 categories you were talking about. You're like, oh, we were acquaintances that got close because we're in the same city for 3 years and now we're not in touch anymore. Like you kind of work that out over time too. But again, I'm talking about people that move cities a lot.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Have you found when you go back to that city again or place, right, whom you didn't stay in touch with after you've left, and then you've come back to that city and you're like, oh, you know what, I should reach out to X person. Do you find that you easily pick up, that you lift things off?
I don't think it even has to be going back and visiting them. I think you can often find, I've found, again, when you're staying in touch with multiple people on social media or apps, sometimes the people that pop up that you find you're in regular touch with aren't necessarily the people you were so close to in real life. So I find that another really interesting surprise. So that person you thought was an acquaintance is like, oh, actually over time we've become more and more and more close.
Yeah.
And then often those are the friends that I make an effort to travel and visit in person. We kind of get a kick out of like, who would have thought we'd grow close? Like we weren't that close when we were living in the same city. You know, we just saw each other occasionally, but you kind of learn more. You can learn more about each other even remotely like that. I always find that a pleasant surprise.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah. I think where I'm trying to get to with that question really is understanding, or really get an insight, right? If communication, as you mentioned quite a few times, and which is great, communication matters a lot, staying in touch. If that touch is lost, or if you're not in touch for months and years after you've left, does that time gap really, affect that friendship or connection or relationship you had with them?
That's a case by case basis.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I understand that.
Yeah. I can't give you like one
definitive.
Yeah, I can't.
What have you seen in your experience? Like, has that affected?
I think you have to be committed to being in touch with that person and maintaining an interest in their life.
Yeah.
And I think if that isn't there on an ongoing basis,
then yeah,
it's maybe an acquaintance.
No, totally.
An acquaintance that maybe you can pick that friendship up with on a superficial basis if you see them again, but yeah. But
they go back to that acquaintance sort of level.
Yeah, for me it keeps coming back to those 4 levels you spoke about. Yeah.
No, it's, hey, look, during my journey of figuring this out, I have, I don't know, there's an author called Shasta Nelson, and I've read her book, and she talks about 7 circles of friendship, and I've really broken down from 7 to 4, and those are the 4 that I've really found over my researching phase and period, that I can really relate to, and it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
I tend to say that it's the goal with those circles or 4 categories is not to have like everyone go to the top. Like, it's not about moving from acquaintance to right to the top, but rather
needs.
yeah, no. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're not trying to go to the top, but rather you are. It's life. You're trying to figure out where everyone sits, and if people go from up to down and down to up, that's fine too. And then it's all about moving it around,
yeah,
based on where you are.
Yeah.
But
change over time.
The key, I'm not sure if you would agree with this, but I think the key is to have healthy number in each of those categories. It's good to have acquaintances who can help in certain things. It's good to have social friends, because who doesn't want to do social things, right? Like, some friends might not share the core interest in, I don't know, pickleball or like tramping. But you got your social group where you can go and like do that thing. And hopefully, you go there to do that thing, you still connect, but connect at a social level with them. Or maybe it goes 1 or 2 goes to close friend, but that's fine. But then, other activities and interests will lead you to some close friends. So like, I think in my view, it's good to have a healthy amount in each. But it's an everlasting process. That you have to constantly keep on going and building, because
it's not always hard work. Sometimes it's natural.
I think, okay, how have you found, okay.
It's interesting to reflect on this, because a lot of people say that they have like 2 or 3 good friends and that's it. So it's interesting to look at it from the perspective of actually there's a spectrum.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Can you expand? And
like there are acquaintances, there are people that you meet regularly on a regular basis because you have a very shared interest, and that's the basis of your friendship or your relationship. And then there are people that you're really close to. Yeah,
I think that takes me to an interesting question of like, how do you cope with change when it involves people moving?
I think some people have had more experience of that.
I think you have.
Yeah, I think I'm used to that as a kid that moved around a fair bit. I'm quite comfortable with it, and I'm always quite pragmatic when I say goodbye to people and they leave or I leave, and I'm like, well, we'll see now in the context of how your perspective, I'm like, well, I'm very open-minded. I'm like, well, I'll see if this is an acquaintanceship or we're really good lifelong friends. I'll see over time. I don't know yet. So I'm quite pragmatic about that. I think that's maybe easier when you have those core friends, Yeah, so you can be really open-minded to, okay, let's see if I'm still in touch with this person when we're in different spaces, or once they've left, you know, this community that we share, or this country that we're living in, or what have you. Yeah, I'm quite pragmatic about that. But I think I learned to be as a kid because of the moving around. Yeah.
Being open to change, I hear. Or...
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. And, you know, not everyone learns that. I mean, that living that kind of military brat or expat kid, or tricultural kid kind of lifestyle is not standard. But yeah, that, at least from my perspective, those life experiences kind of made me really open as a child to just like, well, we'll see over time if we stay in touch or not. And then, as I said to you, you can be quite surprised over time. Yeah, the people, those relationships kind of develop.
Yeah, no, I think
you
I
maintain
hear you.
contact with, and what you share with over time. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I think it comes back to that shared interest in the things that you have in common, right? The things that you can, I don't know, take a pic and share that, hey, I'm in Paris in front of Eiffel Tower, and seeing if that person finds it interesting, right? Or I don't know, for example, in between us, I think the exchanges we've had is more about the, I don't know, shared interest about entrepreneurship and certain components and things like that. But I mean, yeah, as you said, I think interesting. It'll be interesting to see how distance really pans it out, right? Like, I personally haven't had experience with distant friends that much. Mm-hmm. So I think it's fascinating. I think my personal means of communication is phone. Like, I prefer to talk. Messages I don't do well with, and I personally find that it's those understanding those preferences of what works for who.
Yeah.
And it's not that they have forgotten about you. It's just that either they're too busy in what they're doing, or they haven't had time to call you, or it's the other way around as well, I think.
Or it's that transition period when you're like, okay, our relationship is about to morph because we're not doing this anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
So what's it going to be? Who's comfortable with which platform? And I've got friends that only do voicemails, and I'll reply by text.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, we'll work this out. It's fine.
That's awesome. Actually,
and they have to push me. They're like, send me more photos. What are you doing? You know, like,
you had to push them, or
no, they have to push me.
Oh,
yeah.
Have you became a bit more comfortable?
Send me some photos of Wellington. Like, what are you doing right now? Who are you hanging out with? That kind of thing.
Have you become more comfortable?
I'm getting better at it.
That's awesome. I mean, it's a constant evolution, right?
It helps that I have a lot of Gen Z and millennial friends. So, yeah, they push me to do it.
Yeah. And it's, again, I think you're in that space of communication. And I guess that whole thing of having a better understanding that you have to get better. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Like, always you got to adapt because you're in that space of getting better.
Yeah.
Technology is going to change. The system's going to come in, and then how are you going to make use of it?
Yeah,
right?
Seeing my friends move to TikTok and then Xiaohongshu, and like, that's fascinating. And people becoming very video savvy. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah.
Video is the next wave, and that's why this is here as well. So, another way to push ourselves in a common journey. But I think just coming to an end, right? I think, what would you say to someone, I guess, who are listening to this, if they are finding themselves in a space where they're trying to build connection but feel a bit lost, or they don't know where they are, taking into account that they're an extrovert, they can talk, they've done and tried a lot of things, but I don't know, still, I guess they don't know where to go and feel lost. Like, what can you share, like, with them or to that persona or audience?
For introverts and extroverts, from my experience, two things. I believe there's a community for everyone. And I think that's a lot clearer to people more broadly now, because social media has opened up so many different options to connect with people that you can be in the same city as or not in the same city as. And I think the other thing for me is, I know this is hard for everybody, but just to be open-minded, just to give people a bit of a chance. It can be easy to shut down as a human being, like, well, I don't agree with that political view, or, oh, gee, I didn't like that book or film, but just be open-minded. Be open to people, yeah.
And try new things.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's hard for some people, but yeah, sure. But just be more open-minded with people, I suppose. And, you know, there's a tendency to put people into boxes and categories. And I think sometimes it's quite rewarding if you try and just overlook some initial things and give someone a chance to develop rapport and get to know them better. Because even your close friends, you're like, well, we don't necessarily have the same political views or love the same films or books, but when you first meet someone, you can often put those barriers up. So, yeah, it's tough, but yeah.
just be open-minded then, right?
I think so.
Don't discard anyone if they've got a specific point of view on a certain thing, and just...
My gosh, particularly the way culture and community is now. Yeah.
Oh, totally agree. It's changing so much, right?
This us and them mentality. I'm like, give someone a chance.
Don't shut them down.
Yes.
Just be open-minded. Okay. Look,
that's advice to myself as well.
I think you're great. I don't know. Like, you're so open and always open-minded and acceptive of different cultures, different backgrounds, different stories.
I try to be.
Yes, you go with the flow as well.
It's not natural for everybody to be like that, but just, pushing your own boundaries a little, like questioning, why did I in my mind think, I'm not connecting with that person? Like, just challenging yourself a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't stand you when I met you. Joke.
Well, we are sitting, hopefully, so you're not standing against me. But
no, we clicked very quickly. It was very easy.
As I said, we wouldn't be sitting if we didn't click, but love it. Even accepting an interview or whatever, video. Now that's awesome. Well, in terms of questions and things, that's us. Is there anything, like final words or anything that you want to share with the audience or people who are listening that, I don't know? Yeah.
Well, thank you for asking me to participate in this series. And thank you for all that you've done in our community for setting up Hey Mates. It's quite inspiring. Yeah, I'm really impressed. And it's an opportunity for me to speak on behalf of all your friends and the people that have joined your community. Yeah, just to say thank you for all that you've done. You've really set up something different and something at a time that people were looking for something different.
Wow.
Thanks, Dhruv.
You're welcome, and I did it for myself and trying to do it for others. It's a tough journey, trying to make it a business and making it a bit profitable. But again, I think one thing that we've built so far, and as you've mentioned it a lot in this conversation, which I love to hear, and I've loved hearing it, is the proof of concept, or even proof that, from people's testimonials or even in person, on how this, let's say, Hey Mates, or just this experience have helped them grow in such a massive capacity, and has gotten to them, or have gotten to them, this outcome of close friendship and a bit of a community that over the years people have been here for 5, 10, X number of years. They've tried all the events and nothing has worked. And finally, this has worked. And experiencing the difference, I think that's quite powerful and makes me happy. And that keeps me going. And sharing a bit of an understanding to, where things are at. And I think, I can talk about it forever. But it's not about me. It's about you and this whole thing. So, look, thank you so much for sharing your story, Katie, and being vulnerable and keeping it real. If any of this helps you, it's just a conversation and a chat, but you've heard from the other side of an extrovert who had a different life in a lot of countries, and their insights and experience and things that have worked. I guess some things that didn't work, but sounded like, a lot has worked, which is pretty cool. If anything has helped, please leave us a message or comment, or if you want to follow along for more journey, welcome to follow us at Hey Mates app on Instagram. And reach out if you're by yourself and alone. If you want to talk to someone, just please do, because you're just one activity away from meeting your new best friend. All you need is that safe space to be real and vulnerable and sort of open up to someone. And I think, as Katie said as well, be open-minded. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
It was a delight.
You are delightful.
And I love the candle.
It's been going on for an hour, right?
It's lovely.
Glad to hear. It's